Hey guys, welcome back. Today I've got this TORO Snowblower in the shop here. The problem with this machine is that it won't shift gears. It's like seized. And you don't want to force it too much because you might end up bending the linkage for the shifter. So if that happens to you, the first thing you need to do is just leave it the way it is, flip the machine up, I'll do that in a second here, and take the belly pan off. Okay, so I've got it standing up like this on a car jack. There's not that much fuel in the gas tank, so none is leaking. If you have a lot of fuel, you can take some out or take the cap off first, put a bag, screw it back on, it'll stop the fuel from leaking. And make sure that your oil dipstick is on nice and tight because you don't want oil to leak. And the machine I'm doing it on is the TORO PowerMax 826LE. Now this same procedure, guys, will apply to about 95% of snowblowers out there if you get this issue. So here's the shifter and the linkage. First of all, you want to make sure that it's not seized over here. And it's not. You can see that it will move there. Here's the linkage, it goes all the way down. So there's something inside that is seized, and that's why it will not shift. So on this TORO machine here, I will take off this plate here. There's 4 bolts with a 3/8 head. And then you have 2 bolts on each side here to hold the bottom pan, so it comes off in 2 pieces. I will take off both so that you can see better inside. And I'll take off both wheels. It'll make it easier to take off the side bolts. Don't let your drive axles become like this, guys, because what will happen is the wheel will be seized on it. When I put it back on, I will put some anti-seize here. And here's the inside of the transmission, guys. I can tell it's been neglected. It's all dried. There's no grease or lube on the chain or the gears. But what's causing the problem with this blower and why it won't shift gears is because the drive disc here, or the friction disc, is not sliding on this shaft. And the reason it's not sliding on the shaft is because the machine has not been maintained. As you can see, there's rust on there. And what that does is it creates a lot of friction and it's hard to shift. So have a look here. I'm trying to shift with the shifter. It'll shift a bit, but it won't go back. And check out all the rust on that shaft. But the good news is that it's really easy to fix, guys. Okay, what I'll do now is grab some WD-40. It doesn't have to be WD-40. It can be liquid wrench, anything else. And that's just to put some liquid on the shaft where the friction disc slides off of. And don't spray it on the rubber part of your disc. Now I've got some 320 grit emery paper. I'm just going to sand it back and forth and turn the hex shaft and sand every surface. The reason I put the WD-40 is because it makes it easier to sand. Now what you want to do is grab a clean rag and wipe it up. And now what you want to do is move the gear shifter so that the disc goes on the opposite end. Now it might be hard to do. Now it doesn't want to move, so I'm going to push it with my hand. There we go. And you can see here that there is one section that is all rusted out again. And I'll just repeat the process over here. So basically, it's the rust that was preventing the disc from sliding back and forth. and clean the friction plate here as well. Now I'm going to grab some brake cleaner, spray it with that. Now brake cleaner does a really good job of cleaning any oil residue on the friction plate here. Now the disc should move back and forth now. And I will be cleaning the right-hand side of it with the brake cleaner as well. And the friction plate. Now at this point I need to lubricate the hex shaft that the friction wheel moves back and forth on. I'm just going to use my oil can here. I've got some transmission oil mixed in with 10W30 oil. You can also use some lithium grease. You've probably seen me do that in the past. But the bottom line is that you want that hex shaft to be lubed, but not over lubed, because you don't want grease or oil to end up on the friction disc or the friction plate. If you put too much oil and it gets on the rubber part here or the friction plate, your drive will not work. It might work, but it might be weak. So you want to avoid getting oil on there. So what I'm going to do here is just get a bit of oil here on the shaft. Then I go in and just kind of spread it like that. And also turn it when you do that. So I'm just basically putting a film. Now I'm going to move the gear shifter to move that friction, remove the disc. And again, I will repeat the process on the left side. And that's all you need to do, guys. Now while I'm at it, I will put some oil on this sprocket and chain. And some grease on the gear. What I'm using here today is this SRS 2000. It is semi-synthetic. It will stay nice and soft in the winter time as well. And you can be generous with the grease, but again, don't get any on the drive parts there. And now if I move the shifter, it moves very easily. Look at that. So that's all you need to do, guys. And at this point, you just got to put back your belly pan and the wheels. Again, put some anti-seize on the drive axle before you put the wheels on so they don't seize on there. And I do recommend that you do this procedure every fall before the winter arrives. If you don't do that, eventually it will seize on there just like you saw today. Hopefully this video has helped you guys. If it has, please comment, like it, and share it with your friends, and leave your comments below. Have a great day.